Unicorns. An excerpt from the travel diaries of Hammoth, Mann. It's been a long time since I've traveled. My adventures to the Sviata region have exhausted me, and my bones ached for calmer pastures. I spent the whole spring and summer seasons of 1298 resting in my familial home in the Krupnyanska village, which was right on the border between Thunder City lands and the fractured Kustozhe kingdoms. During that time, I've grown complacent and rather bored. My aching body asked for respite, yet my soul longed for more adventures. One day, my estate caretaker asked me not to wander anymore in the upcoming times, since I still had affairs to attend to here, at home, after father's death. She berated me enough for not being here when it actually mattered. I bore the full weight of her words. Sadly for her, they had an entirely opposite effect, making me want to escape these lands evermore and spurring me into action. Despite the tranquility of the lands, the emerald grasses, and the endemic flowers and birds, and the cozy old buildings and creeks that I loved so much, the Krupnaya Valley felt yet again like a cradle that I desperately had to escape. I packed up and left on hoofback in early September, only with Semyon as my companion. We traveled eastwards, towards the Mithwerdian borders, where I intended to complete a sort of pilgrimage to the famous Church of the Saint Protector in the town of Skalitz. In reality, my aim was to see its famous animated frescoes. I intended to see for myself whether or not the frescoes were actually alive, or if it were merely an ancient, if smart, illusion. In any case, it was promising to be beautiful. I also intended to see the town, which I accomplished at the end. However, by the time I got to Skalitz, the animated frescoes were the last thing on my mind. Somewhere about 3 weeks after we left, we were already approaching the border. We were back then traveling through an Oakland graveyard, going off the main road in an attempt to shorten our path. Our charts and calculations were solid. The night sky was well visible, and our new shiny compasses made the travel much easier, so we were confident in our detour. Usually a man fears the night the most. In the darkness, one's imagination starts to sprout all sorts of horrors, hiding behind every nook and cranny, staring at you from the grasses and bushes, countless feral eyes you can't see, no matter how much you look. And yet, this horror came in the bright of day. There is nary a living thing in these deadened fields, only tree stumps, yellow grasses, and worms make these horrid lands their home. Not to mention, no tall enough vegetation grew here, so the horizon was visible for miles on end. We were sure we would see anyone approaching. Next to a stump, there stood a unicorn. I didn't even recognize it as one at first. They say unicorns are a myth nowadays, a relic of the past, all hunted down into extinction by poachers and thaumaturgists for the rumored magical powers of their horns. And yet, there one stood, right in front of me, if it could even be called a unicorn. Its fur was not white, but a dark, dirty brownish gray. It was grotesquely thin, so much that I couldn't understand how it was alive. Its mythical horn resembled a tall, jagged, torn piece of sharp, rusted iron,
as if someone had plucked a piece of scrap from the golden fields of the Thunder City and shoved it into the creature's forehead. Its hooves were also rusted metal, seeming like copper, for they had a greenish residue on them. Yet they singed the grass the creature walked on, leaving behind dark black hoofprints. Its mouth was dirty, with some black mud. Its eyes stared beyond us 1,000 miles. They were sunken in their sockets and seemed to not ever blink, and yet I can swear I saw contempt in those eyes, deep like an ocean, freezing like a blizzard, scorching like the heat of the sun. I could only stare back. Me and Semyon were so shocked by the sight, we could only stand there, frozen, or mayhaps it was some sort of magic of the creature. I couldn't say. Our horses also froze and seemed unable to produce a single neigh or move a single inch. Time itself froze in the presence of the metallic abomination. An eternity passed, with me getting increasingly uncomfortable staring at it. An enormous feeling of guilt and shame started to overwhelm me. For what reason I had no idea, and at last they became so strong they forced me to finally look away. It made me feel like I myself, in person, had somehow been solely responsible for its hellish transformation. With the corner of my eye, I noticed the creature turn its rusted side to us and begin to cough. Horrible sounds exude, like a whooping cough patient struggling to breathe, and it vomited black, nauseating sludge onto the ground. A trail of white gases began to release from it. A noxious smell followed, of gasoline and burnt coal and cheap metal and filthy rivers and everything horrible that mankind has to offer, so intense I felt like vomiting myself. I think I did, I'm not sure. After recovering from the coughing fit, the creature shook its head and began to slowly cross our path. Its hooves burned the ground at its flaming step, leaving before us a dark line in the yellowed grass, which we dared not cross after it disappeared from our view into the distance. Me and Semyon didn't talk about this chance encounter. We silently coordinated ourselves to walk along the line until it separated from our path and we lost it from sight. Then we successfully pretended like it never happened. We reached the Elven borders in a week or so and successfully entered the Empire's lands, returning to the main road, with our previous calculations proving correct. The unicorn doesn't escape my mind, and I feel it won't for a long while. I have sketched it numerous times, as if my hand is trying to identify some sort of clue within its metallic, rusted hide, its jagged horn, or its sunken ribcage. Yet nothing comes, except for that strange shame and guilt. My hands tremble in fear of some eldritch repercussions looming over my fate. I weep tears of which origins I have no idea, and in the town of Skalitz, I desperately sought out the stars in the night sky by some weird inspiration, only to be met with a blank ochre expanse, illuminated faultlessly by street lamps. I suppose it is indeed safe to say that unicorns, as we know them, have gone extinct. All that is left of them is the rust of their shadows and the singed hoofprints in the dry grass.